Right, it's
What is it?
recording.
Is it some lads kicking off?
Yeah, I think so. Well, welcome, Tom and everybody, to the DEATHRAYCHAT staff do. I would like to welcome you all to my staff do. I'm here. It's Christmas Eve. That's when we're going to be streaming. This is a pre-record, and I'm joined here by my friend Tom Vernon over there.
Hello.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the DEATHRAYCHAT gang?
Oh, thank you, Governor. Hello, folks. Well, yeah, I'm a big pal of Nick's. I've known him since we were both tiny, and I'm a big guitar nut as well. And I think it rubbed off a little bit when we were both little. I've kind of come at it from a different angle now that we're growing up. When Nick's done down the '50s route and all the chicken picking and all that, and I've gone more into like Pantera and really cheesy rock and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting now when I see him playing. I'm like, oh my god, I wouldn't know where to start. And I'm sure it's kind of just as intimidating for people that aren't into weird metal stuff
Yeah.
and all that '80s cheese
So I
when
went
they see
down
all the rigs.
I went down the rinky dinky hitting hollow instruments thing, and you like your solid. I guess you got like your loud pickups and your big amps.
Yeah,
So there's quite. So what I thought we could do today is maybe look at some of those differences of the worlds that we look at, but also there's going to be a lot of similarities, isn't there? And also, why don't you tell the gang what you've got? A few things going on. You've got a YouTube channel, right? What's that called?
I have. Yeah, it's Dimebag V3, and don't expect very much, and I'm sure you'll have a nice time. But I've mainly just done a few guitar covers and a few little videos about sort of how to get recording on your guitar and how to do basics of streaming and then talking about a bit more about the politics of guitars when it comes in like Dean guitars and sort of all the nonsense that's gone on with them and why perhaps not to buy a counterfeit one and just little stuff like that. So good nerd fuel.
Yeah. So go and have a look at his channel, and
Thank you.
you do other stuff as well, which we can talk about later, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's Christmas. Hopefully everyone's having a nice time. I reckon this will be like knocking around after Christmas. So like, and not everyone celebrates it. You know, you do your other holidays, or maybe you just hate it. Maybe I'm not very Christmassy. I don't have a Santa hat on or anything like that.
It's just a week off for a few people in it, and just that's a holiday in itself.
Yeah. So if you just want to watch a couple of men nattering, then you've come to the right place, haven't you? So we've got our brews. That's rock and roll. Yeah. So I don't know what's first on the agenda.
So one thing that would puzzle me, not knowing, because when I play any of your gear, it always seems it's like when you get on a sailboat and you're like, whoa, there's ropes and strings everywhere. What am I doing? And you really don't know what I'm doing with it. It doesn't play anything like a mahogany thing with a Floyd Rose or all that. So, what kind of guitar would you recommend for someone that wanted to get the sound that you're after?
Cool. Well, that's an excellent question, Tom. Um, there's a really good video by a man called Randy Richter, who also does guitar lessons, and he does this thing where he plays some excellent rockabilly music,
Hmm.
and then I think he is German, and he's kind of, I won't do the voice. I don't do a very good German accent, but essentially he says, "That sounds pretty cool, right? Guess what I used?" And then you see him. He's got like this big hollow body and a vintage looking amp, but then he's played a trick on you because he goes back to the
Yeah.
original recording, and he's got some kind of like BC Rich Warlock with a little tiny amp there, but he's
Yeah.
managed to get that sound from those things. So
Brilliant.
my advice would be careful. Like, don't believe everything you read. Trust your ears a bit. I know it's difficult when you're just learning, but you can do a lot of sounds with a lot of different guitars. So a lot of it comes down to preference and like how it feels in your hands. Obviously some things might streamline you into that direction for getting a certain sound. But yeah, as for an actual model or something, I don't really know because I've not done it for a while. But I would say you don't have to spend tons of cash on a professional model. You know, if you can go and try loads of stuff out and get your hands on things, sometimes that's a really good way of finding out if you're going to fall in love with an instrument.
It's just hard these days, isn't it? Well, I know when we were little, there was loads of little shops where you could take your gear in and trade one guitar against another one, and you know, and you'd see one in a shop window, and that doesn't really seem to be much of a thing anymore. It's pretty good in Leeds, as we saw when I came to visit you at that time. But
even then, like like say maybe 10 years ago, there was a street full of guitar shops, and now you've only got PMT, which is an interesting title for I think it's called Professional Music Technology, rather than premenstrual tension, which is what it could also stand for. But we used to have loads in Leeds, loads of independent shops, and now there's just the big ones. So yeah, it's kind of lost a bit of that independent shopping experience.
Yeah, so it's just a shame because obviously when you or I wanted to try a new guitar out, you could just go and grab it off the wall somewhere and give it a go, whereas it's people that are just starting or thinking of changing, you know, getting into a new thing, it must be a lot harder for them today.
Definitely. Yeah. But yeah, if you get a chance to try stuff out, that would be the first port of call. And then obviously, like, I'm drawn to like a certain look of guitar, like the big hollow bodies and that kind of thing, but you don't necessarily need to use that. I mean, a lot of rockabilly's played on Telecasters or Les Pauls, you know, just everything really.
So what is it about a hollow body in particular that gives you, like, what does it add to a sound that just any old electric wouldn't?
So it's, I don't know, like, really it resonates more, it's hollow, so it's got that acoustic sound. And a lot of the time, if I'm playing at home, I'll just pick up a guitar. There's one. And you don't have to plug it in because, you know, you can. It's like playing an acoustic a bit. I don't know. They might feed back a little more if you've got loads of gain, but sometimes that's a nice bit of feedback. Maybe, I don't know. There's not as much sustain as if you've got a solid body. But because I mainly use hollow bodies now, I don't know. I do play a telly quite a bit, so that's almost feels like a different instrument. I think a lot of it is from the feel. So like when I've got a nice big hollow body, I don't know, I'm comfortable.
It play differently, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I've been playing that orange one for like, I don't know, 15, 20 odd years. So when I'm not like that and I play something else, it just feels a bit weird. So I think it's just what you're used to. But
I definitely get that.
So sorry, go ahead. I
was just gonna say, I've got some that are all very different shapes, and whichever one you pick up, it makes you play totally differently, doesn't it?
Yeah, because when I pick up one of your kind of pointy guitars, I probably have a similar feeling that you do when you pick up the big kind of hollow ones. And it does make you play differently, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It informs what you play. So like you were showing me how to do that dive bombing stuff. Which is very difficult. And obviously, so you've got your Floyd Rose wang bars, as Neil Young calls them.
Wang bar, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, he calls it a wang bar, which
Totally gone without it.
I'm going to try.
He is phenomenal, though. I've been actually listening to quite a lot of Neil Young.
Nice.
Lately, and yeah, his technique on that Les Paul, like his Bigsby must be crying all the time because he beats it like Dimebag Darrell, but it's like a really violent analog vibrato, isn't it? That he's essentially doing with it.
Yeah,
but it stays in tune. How's that even possible?
He must have a magical one because most of my guitars with a Bigsby, they don't stay in tuning the best.
No.
It could be worse, but like with your Floyd Rose, you can go like all the way down to the depths of wherever and bring it back up. But yeah, if you try that with a Bigsby, it'd make it quite sad. I think it would. I feel like you're gonna break it. So it's funny. I feel like I don't think you got to be really gentle, but there's certain things I wouldn't attempt on
it's like a sailboat and a canal boat.
A horse-drawn carriage versus a Ferrari. It's that sort of thing.
I don't know about that, but I get your analogy. Yeah. So what I mean, what do you look for in a guitar then, when you're thinking of buying one? Because I know we're both kind of nutty about.
Yeah.
To us, it's totally normal, but a lot of people would say you've got too many guitars to us.
Yeah. So,
but what is it about when you spot one when you're like, ooh?
That's a good question. So, I think first of all, you kind of, I had my dream guitar, so it's like I wanted a white Falcon. And this year, I managed to get a white Falcon. And it's like, but even when you have your dream guitar, there's always other ones, and like they all do different things. So for example, the pickups are gonna be suited for certain things. So I love a P90 for a nice big fat warm tone. Nice and creamy. I just caught myself. I'm one of those guitar nerds now on the internet saying horrible things like nice and creamy. Yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to edit this. This is like a real live thing, so I'm going to leave that in because I can't be asked.
Hey, if it's good enough for Thin Lizzy, then there's something pretty good about it, and I think creamy's a perfectly respectable.
Just heard myself. Go on.
I use the Seymour Duncan 59 for my neck, and I think creamy is exactly the term I'd go for when I was describing that tone.
Yeah, the Seymour butts.
It's a really rounded, a bit like a powerful P90, a well-driven one. Hello, little dog. What are you up to?
Oh, who have you got there?
I've just got a little intruder. Hopefully, she won't try and jump. Oh, fantastic!
Santa's little helper. Yeah. So, like, describing sounds in words is weird, isn't it? And for a start.
Yeah, it's always really arrogant. But I've worked in hotels when people are describing wine, and it's like, I'm getting badges and hedgerows and stuff.
Exactly.
So, I know.
Yeah. So you got your P90s. Single coils are going to sound different from humbuckers, and like. Yeah. I mean.
But are there any particular like guitars from a certain year or a certain factory that you'd recommend?
So both of my pro level Gretches, the White Falcon and the Reverend Horton 8, they're from Terada in Japan, and they were I've got the 2008 Reverend Horton 8, and then it was 2003 I think or 6 the White Falcon. And when I picked up the Reverend Horton Heat 6120, that was particularly that made me go when I picked it up and played it, because I didn't really I wasn't bothered about orange guitars. Like it's like I don't know, I didn't expect to want that, but then I picked it up, and when I played it, it made me go ooh. It's like this because I went around the country trying out different Gretsches because I was obsessed. I wanted to find the perfect one. And when I picked that up, well, when I opened the case, the wood grain on it was beautiful for a start, and I didn't expect that. And then, can I just grab it actually?
Yeah.
Show and tell.
Ooh.
I don't know if that'll pick up. You won't see it really how nice. But anyway, and the neck just felt particularly nice. It's like, it's a shape that isn't on all of the other 6120 models. So your neck, how your neck feels is going to really inform which guitar you want.
So what kind of a neck shape do you like?
I think this is a slight V. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, so that hump. So if you took a cross section and kind of laid it down, you get like a slight V shape.
Nice.
Or almost like a curved D. And then you'll hear people saying, oh, it's a C-shaped neck, it's a D, it's a V, it's a U, all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to know what people are talking about until you actually go and hold them. And sometimes a big fat neck feels really nice, which you wouldn't expect. And some people like a really thin, skinny one. But for like metal, is that what you prefer?
A bit of both, to be honest. I think if it's too, like, there's lots of super speedy machines like Ibanez's and stuff like that, and they're all super thin and you know, like the racing cars. But I feel at some point there's like a big fat guitar like a Les Paul just adds something, so it's kind of somewhere in between a little bit. But you can't beat just like anything with a load of mahogany on and you know.
That's a big debate, isn't it? Does the type of wood change your guitar tone, or is it all in the pickups? I
honestly think it's not as no. I don't think it does. But what I think does is how well the guitar is made, because then it'll resonate more. Which means that the pickups are getting to do their job more because the strings are having a bigger effect on the whole body. So, like I've got mine. I try and buy all mine from Korea from a certain point, like early to mid 2000s, because they're all pretty heavy, and you can tell that the mahogany in them's amazing. There's a few that I've sanded down, and they're made from really, really, really good wood. And I find that if it's a bit heavier, the notes will ring out for longer. So I think that's the easy thing to get fooled by. But lots of people say that, oh no, this is made from angel mahogany and it sounds amazing. But I'm not going to argue with anybody. At the end of the day, it's a kind of a hobby, isn't it? So if you've just got to have fun.
Yeah. I watched an interesting video from that Spectre Sound guy. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
The Canadian. I think he's Canadian, Glenn. And he's a metal dude, and he shouts a bit.
Glenn Fricker.
And he's very entertaining. And he's kind of, that's all like bull, whatever. I don't know if I swear on this channel. I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I could if I wanted to. I know loads of swears.
You could. We're grown adults. What do we choose to do?
I'm going to save it for when I really need to.
That's right. That's pretty much how I live.
Yeah, it has more impact, doesn't it? So anyway, he was saying like all the tone wood thing is rubbish, but what he believes makes the biggest difference is the speaker, not the pickups. Well, the pickups will sound different, but he got like cheap humbucker and an expensive humbucker, did a blind taste test, and what came out, they did it through the same amp and speaker, and no one could tell the difference really. There were slight differences, but not necessarily this one's better. And then he was suggesting like your amp speaker is where a lot of different sounds will make. But I mean, you know, he's a metal guy. They were looking at distorted metal sounds. They were looking at clean stuff as well. I just found that interesting.
I would, as kind of a peace branch, I would say that on a semi-acoustic,
Yeah.
And definitely on an acoustic, the choice of wood is going to have a difference to the sound.
Yeah, acoustics
But
for sure.
I don't think so on a straight electric, to be honest.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because like it will affect how heavy your guitar is.
Yeah. The amount of stuff that, I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that's going to affect it the most is your fingers. But on the guitar, like the balance of it, the weight of it, everything, even how you feel about it on that particular day is going to influence how your fingers hit those strings. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for, if somebody's got one with a little certificate and they're convinced that it's the Excalibur guitar, then they're going to play it better. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny. It's like I get migraines, right? And slight tangent. I'll eat all kinds of pills to try and stop it, and on some days the Anodin Extras are good. Some days Aldi own brand works. But I got these Holland and Barrett like all natural tablets, and I'm like, I think these ones work. And like when I'm eating the tablet, I'm like, yeah, this one's gonna work.
Yeah.
But then it's a bit of a mind game.
Psychosomatic.
Exactly, right? So like the placebo thing, it could be a little bit of that at work, and
if it works, don't question it. You'll just unravel it.
Yeah.
don't pick at it.
Yeah. So
with that in mind, then, what's it like doing a big YouTube channel like yourself? Because that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people will realize behind the scenes, kind of what goes into it. The dream is obviously that you just imagine you get in and sit down and go, click, hey everyone, there's my content, pop, off we go. But what's the reality?
It would be cool if it was that easy, and it could be. But like the hardest part of it is coming up with the ideas, not so difficult. It's like you've got to be in the mood for it, as you know. When you've done a video, you've got to be in the zone. It's like you don't always want to go down to the pub to see other humans. Sometimes I feel like I want to sit in my house pants and be a goblin. Yeah, I love being a goblin. That's kind of my natural state. So when I'm talking on camera, I've kind of got to be switched on, and I want to be somewhat presentable. Like maybe not today, but like, I've got to put trousers on. So immediately there's a first barrier. Oh, I've got to put trousers on. I'm not going to complain at all, because like it. Oh,
my dog's
the dog. Yeah,
I might need to just run her out downstairs for 2 seconds, if that's cool, dude.
Oh, of course, there's something untoward.
No, she's just kicking off at me. She's just going to end up barking at me to go and give her some chorizo or something like that. But,
we can have a little pause.
That would be lovely. Yeah, I'll just run her downstairs and grab a top up on the drink.
I'll tell you what, I'll put my little oops sign on. Here we go. Here we are, after a little pause.
Lovely.
We've taken the dog out.
Sorry about being invaded by my own little house goblin.
That's all right. No, you got to look after your animals, and they'll look after you. But
sorry, you were talking about YouTubing.
I was
on the other side.
Basically, I'm not going to complain too much, because I've managed to, with mostly the Patreon, I've managed to make this my job. So like YouTube itself doesn't create the income, but I see it as like a free advert for my Patreon, my guitar lessons and stuff like that. So if you're watching and you don't know about this, I've got a Patreon called DEATHRAYCHAT. Patreon.com/DEATHRAYCHAT, I think it is.
The link will be underneath, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got all the gubbins down there. And there's different tiers. You can start off by chucking in £3 just to say thanks for that free tabs, or thanks for that free lesson you did on YouTube. And then there's another tier where you get all the tabs and backing tracks. And then there's another tier where you get extra bonus videos, and all the other stuff. And the final tier is you get one lesson a month and all the other stuff. And I think I got three humans on that tier, and that's limited to 10. So once that's full up, I don't want any more than 10. That's enough. But yeah, so that's what I do, and that's become my income. Apart from gigs don't make a lot of money at my level.
Yeah.
So I don't do them as much because I'm getting older and tireder. But I'll still go out with some of my bands, X-Ray Cat Trio and the X-Ray Surf Vehicle. So that's me doing a bit of a hard sell in case nobody knows what I do. So the YouTube thing, it is part of that. And again, I can see myself when I've been working at it hard, when I'm trying to do one a week plus vertical stuff. It's quite a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the editing takes ages. I've got to think of something. I've got to learn a song every week. I've got to tab it out. I don't always tab it out. Sometimes it's simple enough not to do that. Sometimes I'll do a backing track. So
I've seen with your animations and like your video editing and all of that as well.
Yeah, so that takes time. Luckily, once I've done a bit of that, I can save it for the next one. But sometimes I'll just wake up and I'm like, I need to do a video this week. I need to keep my patients happy. I need to keep my graph going up on YouTube. And sometimes I wake up and I'm just like, no, can't do that today. I'm going to have to put my goblin trousers on and switch my brain off. Otherwise, I'm going to have a meltdown. And this happened a few times. And I just need to like reset. So there'll be occasional moments where I'll have like a month or two off because I've just fried my brain.
But you get that in any job, so I think that's more than reasonable.
Yeah, you're allowed time off. It's funny, but I do want to keep people happy who are signed up to my business, my stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to swear.
But you think, it's going all right then, the Patreon side and stuff.
Yeah, it's going up. Yeah, more people coming.
So you were doing some tie-dyeing as well.
Yeah, so the tie-dye, that was a merch idea for one of my bands, the X-Ray Surf Vehicle. We're supporting Demented Argo in January at the Bradford Underground. They're a big psychobilly band. They like to dress up like skeletons and all that.
Awesome.
Anyway, so tie-dye, I just kind of fancied it. And so I've got some tie-dye shirts for sale. I got loads of merch. But that in itself, that was like a nice little break from doing what I normally do. It's like you've tried it yourself, haven't you? It's like being a kid back in primary school messing around with paints.
Definitely. I had a great time, but I don't think any of mine were good enough to sell. But I had a hoot doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
and I didn't end up with a spotty dog or anything like that. So
yeah, one of my cats is bright white, and she'd look amazing with a tie-dye effect. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I'm just saying.
Not intentionally, but if you just leave the paints out, she'll probably do it herself.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like you've probably seen it yourself when you try and, when you want to make a video, it seems like a lot more of a I don't know what you call it, a bigger deal than it is. You've got to really build yourself. You've got to be in the right headspace for it, haven't you?
Totally. You've got to be authentic, and it's better to do it 2 nights a week and be really fired up and authentic, and then do it 5 nights a week and be grinding it out and visibly having a rough time,
Yeah, I've been aware of that. I'm sure I've done some videos where I've just been like during lockdown or whatever, I'm like, hi guys.
It's your boy. Smash that like button.
So I try and avoid that. But I quite enjoy it, otherwise I don't think I'd do it. But
I
yeah,
think that's obvious, man. Yeah.
yeah.
So one question I've got then is, when did you get married to Gretsch?
So I've always fancied Gretsch. I'm not married at
Yeah.
all, really. I've always fancied him. Like, I think one of the reasons why I got into him was like Brian Setzer from the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
He's a very, very handsome man with a very handsome guitar. It's like him and like bands like The Living End. I don't know. I just what, I don't know. It's mostly the look, the sound as well. You get that big, especially with the rock thing, the Filtertrons. I think the AC/DC, Malcolm Young played Filtertrons.
He did. Yeah.
It's that big chimey kind of. It just sounds great in a rock
Like
band
a
scenario.
335 kind of sound.
I don't really know, but yeah, it's a humbucker, but it's got a little bit more of the chime to it, a bit more. I don't know. Again, we're talking about sounds. Some other people can do that better than I can, but yeah, a bit of that, a bit of the culture as well. It's like, and like I was saying, the rockabilly thing, it wasn't just hollow bodies. It was like you'll see dudes playing tellies and
stuff.
Les Pauls and everything. But yeah, I kind of totally fell into that kind of culture of like, yeah, I don't know. I just think they look great. They're like the Cadillac of guitars.
I totally agree.
So yeah, I got one when I could, and then yeah, that's it really. I've just.
But how did they get to clock onto you? Because you're one of their signature artists, aren't you?
Oh, I am an endorsee, I think, but it's
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's thanks to my pals, Jamie, who is my Texan pal, who I've been over to visit. He was very, very helpful, and basically, and my mate Ray from the Zip Heads, who put me in touch with him. I was like, because he got an endorsement. I was like, how'd you do that then? So it was basically a bit of what would you call it? Weaveling away, just sort of.
Yeah, just some like politics.
Hey, could you mind if you mention? And then I got an email address and I sent all the stuff over that I've done, and like, look, I really like your stuff. Look, I played this guitar every night. I used to tour a lot more then. I play it all the time. Look at the artwork on my albums. I love your guitars. How about it? And
Can I have a cuddle, please?
Yeah. And then they were like, yeah, okay. Just leave us alone. All right. Now, if we'll give you the thumbs up. Now just go away. And that's it really. So, yeah, it's just like a little pat on the back. Really, I was on the website for a bit. I've got some nice photos with the logo on there and stuff, but yeah, it's lovely. But yeah, I still love other guitars as well. I love guitars, but yeah, they're my favourites.
I think a few people would be interested in that, because it seems there's lots of YouTubers that are like, a solar artist or like that, and it's not always obvious what that entails. I know there's all these like secret little clubs and stuff like that, but you don't really know how to get into it, and then you get endorsees, and some people have signature models and all that, so it's quite a weird, confusing world, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be nice. The signature DEATHRAYCHAT, that'd be fun. I always thought maybe more likely and more doable might be, I quite fancy doing a pedal, like for people who are rockabilly beginners or rock and roll. I mean, I don't just do rockabilly stuff. It's like that rock and roll, punk rock, blues, stuff that I like. If we could make a pedal with like maybe just some things on there to get a sound, I don't know, a bit of slapback or tremolo or both, or I don't know. There are things out there. Like a what?
Nothing. No word came out of my mouth then. Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be fun. Like just to sort of have a
I was gonna say, yeah. So if you had a signature pedal, then what would it be? A slapback tremolo?
slap back. I don't know. Like it definitely. I'm thinking what I can't go without, and that's slap back. So maybe. And I think it's quite egotistical of me to be like, yeah, some. But also,
No.
I reckon it would
I
be
always look at
useful.
it from the other way around. So I would just think, well, I'm not some special little snowflake. If I want something, then there's a good chance that there's a few other little weird people out there that would want the same thing.
Yeah,
Look at it that way.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, so a bit of slapback. I love tremolo as well, but I don't
Would
always.
you want a
tremolo.
boost on it or anything like that? Or
So yeah, that could be good, like a little preamp thing, or a tube screamer thing. Yeah, I've not really thought about it that much. I like the idea, and also
yeah,
I like this whole thing with, you can see there and down this artwork by my talented friend Sammy Greystone. Use a bit of the artwork and the colours. That I'm into all that kind of stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Don't know why, but I think that would be good one day, and maybe do
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, do a limited run.
That's a great idea. I think there's a definite like bubble. It's like the Silicon Valley collapse. I think all these boutique pedals and stuff have got to a point where you pay 400 quid for a locked EQ pedal.
Yeah,
And I think that it's definitely time for it to come back down to there's so many great little cheap pedals out there that
yeah, it would be cool to do something cheap as well, but I don't think to do something on such a
you don't always get both.
Yeah. I mean, I love using cheap pedals because
Yeah, but that's the beauty of a nice one, like you were saying with the artwork on though, because then at least you're getting a cool thing. It's like a cool little collectible gadget, isn't it? As opposed to just some little different coloured brick out of a box.
Yeah, I think in general, if you can find something that does something close enough to what you want, but it's cheaper, then why not try it out for a bit? Yeah, I love
What's
going.
your favourite? Like, say if let's say the house is on fire and you can grab 3 pedals, what are you grabbing then?
Luckily, everything's on a board, Tom. So I would grab the board and run out.
Oh, nice. And for that specific reason.
That's cheating, isn't it?
In case of fire,
Yeah.
just grab the handle on the pedal board and out you go.
Like, I'm not really. You don't really get attached to pedals, do you? Like you do a guitar.
No.
But I think if I get what you're saying, it's a good rhetorical question, and I've just I've ruined it.
No.
I'm not. Yeah.
Well, I hope you're happy. Well, what effects do you think are closest to your heart to get the kind of sounds that you feel most inspired by?
Grab a slapback, definitely. And
yeah.
Then, you know what? You could get an EQ pedal and get loads of different.
Ooh.
You could do a lot with that. You could kind
absolutely
of
right.
change your sound quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then so if I didn't have an amp, I got a little soul food pedal, which is like a preamp sort of. I don't know exactly. It's like it sounds like an amp basically.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of different ones like that. But that one is what you'd call transparent. I think it is anyway. I believe so.
Oh yeah.
Which means it's coloured, so like it gets the sound of your guitar, and it just boosts it. Rather than like if you get a tube screamer, it
influences.
Like you
it.
say, it's stuck on an EQ, so the mids are high, which has a specific sound, which is also nice. But I realise, we're talking about pedals, but we're not. We don't have them. It's not like that pedal show where we've got it all set up. This is kind of
So here's like 15 grand worth of effects anyway. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
So this is the first time we've done this. So hopefully all the tech is working, and I'd like to do some more of these and maybe get some other humans on involved as well. But I like what you're doing. You're kind of almost chairing it, aren't you? You're sort of firing some stuff at me, which is great. So I'm not just sat here in my pants like.
Well, I just thought, like, rather than there's questions that you and I would get something out of, but then it's more about us asking questions that are gonna make your audience get more out of what you already do. So, like, when you're talking about your guitars, if they're like, "Oh yeah, he likes Japanese ones," that's a Japanese White Falcon right there, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
I just thought that might be useful.
Yeah, very good. And you were saying yourself, you've got your Korean lads that you enjoy. Have you got like your favorite flagship tom guitar?
I have, yeah, and I really wish it wasn't in a case, but it is. But it's a Dean Dimebag Darrell Far Beyond Driven signature, and it's in it's Trans Brasilia Burst, but it's like Tobacco Burst basically. It's from when they couldn't say tobacco.
Oh, really?
So it's a Tobacco Burst ML, which is like an X-shaped Dimebag Darrell guitar, and it's made in the World Factory in Korea in 2002, I think, or something like that. And it's just, but it's hard to describe, isn't it? When you just pick one up and you're like, oh my god,
yeah.
I'm in tune with this machine. So yeah, it's a lifer.
Excellent.
But I've got like my SG and stuff like that as well that I could never get rid of. So
yeah. Who did you get? Didn't you get that signed by Noel Redding?
Yeah. So I went with a mutual friend of ours, Chris Large, who's made us both guitars.
Mm-hmm. He has, yeah.
Which is a thing.
Yeah.
That we're both very lucky about. And yeah, he was buying a Stratocaster. I was buying something like a wah-wah pedal or something like that. And we were going to this guitar shop in Stoke,
Duke.
And they got Noel Redding, who was Jimi Hendrix's bass player, going there. So as part of me haggling for a lower price for Chris's guitar, it was, I wanted some leads to go with my wah-wah, plus we would get 10 minutes with Noel Redding in the back. And so
sounds ominous.
The deal, yeah, it sounded proper dodgy, but basically the deal was done, and we got to go and hang out, and like, he was adorable. He was absolutely smashed, bless him. But he was so good on the bass.
Yeah.
He was there doing one of these demos in the shop. But like, he was like classic rock star. Like, he was absolutely nailing super lager in the back, but then he was totally like Mr. Super Clear Cut. How's it going?
Yeah. Flawless
musician when he was playing. But yeah, we were jamming with him for a bit. So he was playing on my SG, which I was just like, Jesus, wow, this is flipping out. And then he signed both our guitars for us. So very, very lucky there. He's really, really nice dude. Yeah.
Excellent. Very cool. I mean,
yeah, man.
So we kind of had a few bullet points on the go. Is there anything you wanted to make sure we touch on? I mean, we had the idea of, I think it's kind of, it doesn't really matter. We were going to do a sort of clickbaity title of metal versus rockabilly or something like that.
Yeah.
So is there anything worth looking at with that in mind?
There's probably some questions that we could go down for 5 or 10 minutes about because we'd have to be talking about very subjective stuff about the kind of music that we like, and what you think makes good music. Because I would say something with a good groove is better than something that's technically impressive and stuff like that. So I'm not really into lots of modern genty stuff like that. I'd rather have something with a bit of a headbanging
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something that'll get you jumping up and down. And I think the same applies to lots of rockabilly genre as well. Like there seems to be.
Yeah, so like if you look more recently, I mean, I'm not like a historian on this at all, but like the whole psychobilly world, some of that world is kind of taking that rockabilly sound and kind of injecting it with a bit of a more modern sound, like more distorted guitars, faster. Now, that was quite a popular thing, I guess, in sort of 80s sort of time in the UK.
Yeah.
And then, but like after that, I guess like 90s, it got even more cranked up, and you get that 90s guitar sound and drum sound, and it can get quite like polished, almost to the point where it's got that metal sound. So like, I think it's probably similar with metal as well, because you got your early metal is going to sound quite loose and groovy, isn't it? And lower fi than, like you say, the genty kind of hyper like perfect and edited stuff.
It's
I guess
so crisp. Like the modern gear now, like when you hear it, it's like these Kempers and stuff like that. The amount of like detail that you can get, whereas it's almost like accidental brilliance when you get these dirty old stacks and they do one thing and they do it really loud, but then that one thing is a really, really good sound. Whereas now you can have literally any sound that you want, and there's no hiss and screaming pedal noise and stuff like that. So it's really good.
It's going to be really difficult not to fall into that classic boomer. You know, there's memes about you know, oh, it's got to be a valve amp and it's got to be this and that, and but yeah, there's certain things, you know, like the pedals. I like having pedals rather than like one unit that's all digital. That's probably really cool, but I don't know, I'm just used to that.
But we both use a digital guitar simulator or Guitar Hero simulator or whatever, don't we?
On when I'm recording, to be honest, I'd sometimes use it for recording. I've experimented with it.
Yeah.
If I'm messing about, I will use it. But I've always got my pedals down here before it goes into my input. So it's not going through. When I record my lessons, if I want to do it quick, I started off sticking a mic in front of an amp all the time. It's like, I'm always going to use an amp. It's always going to be a valve amp. Yeah, that's going to be me. It's going to sound amazing.
They're going to say, it's that valve amp guy.
Yeah. But reality sets in, and then, I want to do a lesson a week. I've got neighbours. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to just like plug into my interface. All right. That doesn't sound so great. Just going straight in. Let's try a few pedals. And eventually what I've settled on is I've got my Fender reverb tank, which has a it's got a valve in there, so it's got a preamp.
Right.
So you get a bit of that sound before it goes into my Focusrite whatever. And that just makes it sound a little bit nicer than going straight line in, but it's without the faff of doing an amp over there. If there's
they're so convenient, aren't they?
But the VSTs, like I do have GarageBand or Garbage Band, I like to call it. Oh god. That has loads of pedals on there. So like if there's, for example, I wanted to have a phaser, I didn't have a phaser before, I was like, let's try that on there. Oh, it's there, it's free, and it sounds close enough to a real one. So like it's brilliant, like the stuff you can get on your GarageBand.
Well, speaking of free,
yeah,
you should tell your Death Ray pals about that website you showed me. That this sounds like an advert, but you know that one with the collaborative thing where I could put really bad riffs on and just throw it at you. That was really useful, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that is
What was that called?
BandLab, right? So if you don't have a DAW, and this is my Texas mate Jamie told me about this. If he's watching, hey Jamie, I don't think he'll be watching, but you never know. BandLab, right? So it's a DAW or DAW, which means it's a way for you to record stuff. But it's all on a browser, so you don't need to download it. So if you got an Apple, whatever, you get an Apple computer, you get GarageBand with it for free. And there's loads of free ones, but this one's particularly good because everything's set up in your browser. Like, for example, I don't know, Google Docs. You can just go in there and edit it. So it's the same idea, but it's a browser. So all you need is some kind of interface where you can plug in your guitar. You don't even need that. You could make like if you wanted to do some like digital tomfoolery. You want to do some dungeon synth like me. You don't even need one of those. You can simply use your keyboard and turn it into a MIDI instrument. But anyway, it's free. And the best thing about it is I could like set up some drums, fake drums on there, or record some real drums, or do a riff or whatever, and then I could like, it's all in a browser, copy a link, send it to you, then you would get that, you would click it, it would open up on your browser,
with straight in,
and then you can like do what you want on top of it, and it's like a collaborative thing, and I think that's just really cool.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
Yeah, I was dead happy with it. I thought it was such a great thing.
So
one of the few cases where the internet gets used for good.
Yeah, and it's got a social media aspect to it as well. So you can create a backing track without vocals, and then you can stick it on their Discover page, and then be like, "Hey, any singers fancy having a go on this?" And then, Jimmy the vocal coach could be like, "Oh, can I have a go on that?" And then you could just collaborate with strangers, which could be cool. It could be
a lot of fun.
So yeah, that's why I think that's cool. I've not used it that much, but the potential,
no, me neither.
The potential for it.
Yeah, especially if like it's great for these uni bands and stuff like that. When you know what I mean, when all of a sudden one of you is at the other end of the country and stuff like that, you can still keep chucking music together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like my pal Jamie's chucked me some surf tunes, which I need to do some stuff on. And if you're working on a UFO soundtrack thing, and you need some stuff going on, and you
it's dead handy. It's dead handy. Yeah, that would be good. So what made you want to launch the X-Ray Surf vehicle then?
So that's a good question. So my original band, DEATHRAYCHAT Trio, we do a lot of surf tunes, like original surf tunes, and I guess it was getting a bit weird because like we do songs where I'm singing, we're doing like trashy doo-wop, or maybe like a rockabilly country kind of sounding thing, and then we do surf. And we'd like keep changing genres, and I don't know, I think it confuses some people. Maybe it confuses me a bit, and I thought it'd be fun. I don't know. Oh, that's what it was. Me mates in the northeast have a surf festival in at the Cluny in Newcastle. Excuse me. Surf Bonanza, it's called.
Nice.
Bonanza is a fun word to say in a Newcastle accent. Bonanza. Anywho, and then I was like, I think they asked us, "Oh, do you want to do like an X-ray set, but just do the surfy stuff?" And I was like, "That we could do that." And then I've been palling off with some new musicians. New musician people that I hadn't played with much before, and I was like, maybe it'd be fun to do something new.
Totally new.
And we did it for that gig, and it went really well, and was like, I like this, let's keep doing it, and they all like it as well. And so that's something we're putting some time into now. We've been recording. Yeah, doing a mix of recording in a professional studio and doing some home recording in semi-professional studios but yeah, it's sounding nice and big. So that's how that happened.
Cool. So you still intend to do the X-Ray Cat Trio stuff as well? It's nice to be able to concentrate on specific. Keep them one-to-one.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time, so it's nice to have a little break from it every now and again. I'm also thinking about doing a couple of like solo pub gigs, just because I fancy taking a guitar and having a sing-song.
Yeah.
So I might be doing a bit of that as well. Yes. But yeah, keeping it interesting for yourself, I think, is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for watching the Death Ray Chat with me, El Nico, and Mr. Tom Vernon over there.
It's been lovely.
It's been nice.
It's been the best Christmas due. So the buffet's due in a minute.
The buffet's going to be served soon. There'll be a meat raffle. So get your tickets. And yeah, have a lovely holiday. And yeah, see you next time.
In a bit.